Hey, what's going on everyone? So today we're going to be testing out the Iceco APL35 dual zone refrigerator slash freezer. Now this thing is pretty awesome. Look at the finish on this, guys. It's all aluminum. Very, very nice finish. This thing looks really high tech. A couple of awesome features about this thing is it has really tight locking latches. And what I was really impressed with is this thing has a seal on the lid that looks like a refrigerator seal. And this thing is very, very efficient, very, very lightweight at only 32 pounds. 32 decibels when it's running. It's actually running right now. You can barely hear it. It's in eco mode. But in the test we're going to do today, what we're going to do is we're going to run this cooler off the Iceco PB250 250 watt hour power bank. Now this thing is magnetic. However, it does not magnetize to here because this is aluminum. They do sell a plate that you can attach to here, so this can attach to it. But we're gonna fill this thing up to the max from stuff from my freezer. We're gonna run this entire thing in freezer mode at 0 degrees with this battery pack, and we're gonna see how long it can run for. Now, I did some preliminary testing with this, and I ran this power bank with this Iceco APL35 in freezer mode in the small side, and then I left the large side turned all the way up to 68 degrees, and it ran for 19 hours. And then I did the reverse. I ran the large side in freezer mode and the small side turned up to 68 degrees, and it ran for about 17 hours off this little battery bank. And it just kicked off. I don't know if you could hear that when it was running, but I'm expecting to get at least 17 to 20 hours out of it, maybe even longer, because when I did those preliminary testing, I left this thing completely empty, and that's not really how you want to test these things. You want to fill them up, let it get the temperature, and then test how long it runs. But first, let me show you a few things about this. Now, the first thing I think you should know is that the controls are on the side here, and you can't really get to them very easily if this thing was packed in somewhere pretty tight. However, there's one nice feature is this thing does have an app that you can log into, and you can control everything from your phone. And why this is amazing is because this is the first refrigerator freezer that I have that has app connectability. And what's nice is when we're on trips and we're in the vehicle, I'm always turning around asking my son, hey, what's the cooler at? Is it still running? What degree is it at? Now I can just log in on my phone, check out each compartment to see what it's at. Each one right now is at 0 degrees. You could change that from -4 all the way up to 68 on each compartment. You could turn the refrigerator on or off, set each one to refrigerator or freezer mode. You have eco mode. You can change it to max mode. Then you can go in and set your battery protection. And what's nice is it'll show you low, medium, or high. If you hit the information button, it shows you everything about when it will kick on, when it will kick off if you're trying to preserve the battery in your car and you don't want your car battery dying down. That's nice to have because I never remember what the levels are on all my other refrigerators. So this one's nice. You can go into the app and see what level it will kick on and off at. I'm going to just leave it on medium and on Fahrenheit for this testing. And you can see there that the left compartment right now, this bigger one is at 0 degrees, and the larger one is currently at -3 degrees, actually -2 degrees now, and it matches the display on the cooler. And like I said, the super big door sill, and then anything from 45 degrees to 110 degrees, it has soft close hinge and also a hinge that will keep this thing open anywhere between that 45 and 110 degrees. So you don't have to hold this thing if you're only opening it partially, trying to get something out of there. If you can't open it all the way up, it's not going to fall on you. Really, really nice. And then when you get it down past that 45 degrees, it will close. And what I love about the inside of this cooler is the whole entire inside is metal. It's not plastic, so it has a metal liner in there. And I feel like that's going to keep things a lot cooler. And also this not being black plastic, it's going to reflect that sunlight a lot and probably help it stay a lot cooler in the summertime when it's outside. And they also got a cover for this thing too, so I'm sure it'll get a lot more runtime with that insulated cover on there as well. All right, let's get this thing loaded up. So just for some context here, here's a half gallon of milk. Obviously, I'm not gonna put that in there to freeze, but fits in there nicely. Not gonna fit in the tall side, but you can stack cans in here standing up and you still have about 1 inch of room on top. Now, I don't know what all I have in here. I got some vanilla ice cream, chocolate ice cream. So we could fit 2 48-ounce, 1 pint ice creams in the top here, and still got slightly more room in there. Eggo waffles. Like I said, we're just throwing stuff I already got in here. Some corn, some tater tots, some pie crust. Those aren't going to fit that way. They will fit this way. Got some cookies. There we go. They'll fit like that. Got some pork or something. Some frozen garden peppers that are freezer burned. We'll throw those in there. French toast sticks, cauliflower, lima beans, veggie spirals, frozen berries, pork chop trimmings, More garden peppers, those look better, not freezer burn. Got some butter, orange juice. What else can we fit? Maybe another butter and a bag of roasted potato green beans. There we go. That fits as well. And what's nice about these electric coolers is that you don't need any ice in here, so you can get way more food in here than if you were to try to pack this thing full of ice, because as you can see now, there's really no room for ice. So even though the cooler's smaller, you could pack a lot more food in here. Let's get this thing plugged in. Now this battery pack does take about 3.5 to 4 hours to charge up. It comes with a wall adapter, so you can charge it from 120 volts AC, and it also comes with a car adapter, so you can charge it while you're going down the road, which is nice. And I also got the Iceco 80-watt solar panel to plug into the battery pack to charge it up. So on a bright sunny day, this thing will output enough power to run this cooler indefinitely while the sun is out, which is awesome. Nice small lightweight portable panel with an ETFE coating. You can leave this thing out in the rain. You don't have to worry about it getting wet. However, you don't want to get this wet. But what's pretty cool is there is actually enough room to put this battery pack in here and close it. Now, I'd still be cautious of doing that, but it is pretty sweet that you're able to put it in there, because then you could just stick this out by your cooler, put your battery pack in here, plug it in, and it will keep this pack charged up and run your cooler all at the same time. If the sun comes out, maybe we'll try to plug it in, but it's winter time here, about 15 degrees outside, so don't know how much sun we're gonna get this time of year. 100%. Let's start a timer here. It's exactly 7 p.m. We'll see how long it lasts. And I'm just gonna leave it set on 0 degrees for both compartments. And the cooler comes with the same thing. It comes with a wall adapter and a car adapter, so you could charge it from your vehicle as well, or from a wall outlet. Now, starting this test, I did have the cooler pre-chilled, which is what you want to do. You never want to load this thing up with just a bunch of raw meat, put it in freezer mode unless you're driving and keeping it cold, because it's going to use a ton of power. So you always want your meats pre-frozen if possible, and you also want to try to pre-chill your cooler with AC if you're going to use this battery bank, if you can do that. Now, if you can't, that's understandable. Just plug it into solar, plug it into your vehicle, and you should be fine. But if you have no other external power sources and are only using this battery pack, it will probably take a good bit of juice to freeze those meats that you put in here. So just something to keep in mind. Now, on the preliminary testing too, one thing I wanted to mention with this cooler empty, I had one side set at 68 degrees, and when I had the other side set at 0 degrees, I noticed that the side I had set to 68 degrees was always around 28 degrees. Now, I had a bottle of water in there and it never froze, so that probably has something to do with it trying to read a temperature when the thing's empty, but we'll see how it works being loaded up. All right, everyone, so it's the next day. It's been running for 15 hours on 0 degrees freezer mode on both compartments from this battery pack. Now, it is down to 1%, and in my last two tests that I did with each side being set to freezer and the opposite side being turned all the way up, I've noticed that it lasts a good while on 1%, so it's probably gonna last a little bit longer than 15 hours. Now, as a little bit of context here, it's 64 degrees ambient temperature in my house, so that's gonna play a part in how long this thing's gonna last. If you have it in a vehicle that's 80, 90 degrees, it's not gonna last as long. But what we're gonna do now is we're gonna plug this thing into the solar panel, have it set up outside. Now, it's a really dreary, snowy winter day out, so I don't expect to get a ton of power. Hopefully the sun comes out so I could see how much power that solar panel is producing, but we're going to plug it into there and see if we can continue to power this cooler throughout the day while the sun's in and out. And I also have a larger solar panel set up out there. I might have to use that one because it's a 220 watt panel that will work with this as well. You just don't want to go over to the 30 volt input limit on this if you're plugging different solar panels into it. But let's get this thing hooked up and see if we can continue to power it the rest of the day. But super impressed with this thing running for 15 hours on freezer mode. Oh yeah, everything's still solid. Ice cold frozen. Very, very good. All right, so I got the cooler plugged in to the Iceco 80 watt solar panel, and we're currently getting 8.4 watts, 0.76 amps at 10.95 volts. Into the Iceco. So we're gonna see when the sun comes out and peaks, if it can refresh this, recharge it up, and see if I can continue to run that in freezer mode. And just for a comparison, this is the 220 watt EcoFlow panel plugged in, and I'm only getting 25 watts out of that 220 watt panel. So I was getting right around 8 watts out of the 80 watt panel. All right, so the sun finally popped out. We're getting 44 watts of input at 3.98 amps, 11.15 volts. And the Iceco pack is up to 3%. So far, continued to run, even though it's a cloudy, dreary day. every once in a while the sun pops out and I'm gaining a little bit. So hopefully we can continue to run all day. All right guys, so it's just been over 6 hours, 21 hours total since I started this test at 7 p.m. yesterday, but it's been running for 6 hours and 6 minutes on that 80 watt solar panel. I'm only getting about 1.6 watts currently. The max wattage was 57.6 watts from that solar panel today. The Iceco battery is at 2%. So it didn't gain a whole lot. I've seen it go up to about 8%, and now it's starting to go back down now that the sun's starting to set over on the side of my house. But the cooler is still running, 21 hours total, 6 hours on the solar panel, and then it was 15 hours on just the battery before that. But now that that solar panel is in the shade, I don't expect to get any more wattage from it, but pretty amazing that this ran for 6 hours on just that panel being super cloudy, sun coming out here and there, but it still continued to power through. But what I'm gonna do now is unhook that 80 watt panel, and I'm gonna connect my 220 watt panel that I have that's on the side of my house up because it's still getting sunlight, and we're gonna see if we can gain a little bit of charge into that unit. But no doubt on a sunny day, if the sun was out a lot more than it is today on this cold winter day, that this cooler would easily run nonstop and easily charge up that 250 watt hour Iceco battery pack. And then I could just keep repeating that cycle as long as I don't get a super cloudy day. Now it would have been nice to have 2 of those, that way I could put one of them out with the solar panel to charge up while it's running on another one. And at 109 bucks for one of those, it's not too bad of a deal, so I may just pick up another one. All right, so the cooler is still running. We are at 23 hours and 6 minutes. It ran for 15 hours on just this battery pack alone, plugged it in the solar, ran for 6 hours on the 80 watt panel, and then I plugged it into my 220 watt panel, which is no longer getting any power. However, it was only getting power for about a half hour until the sun went down, and we are back down to 1%. So I'm gonna call this test quits, and I'm gonna go ahead and unload this back into my house freezer. So everything in here is still ice frozen. Let's check out that ice cream under here and see how it did. Oh yeah, still ice frozen here. So very, very good in freezer mode, almost lasting 24 hours. If the sun was out, guaranteed this thing would have continued to power, would have powered all through tonight into tomorrow, because that would have been fully charged and I could have just repeated the cycle. So everything is still rock hard, frozen solid. Butter's still frozen. You can see all the frost in there. But I really love this metal inside here. I feel like that holds the coldness a lot better than plastic. And also the metal on the lid helps reflect that coldness down and reflects sunlight off of this, because if you ever had a black cooler out in the sun, they get really, really hot in the sun. And once I get the cover for this, it's going to insulate it also a little bit better and probably last a little bit longer. But you can see how thick the sidewalls are here. It's insulated really, really well. And I love this really thick refrigerator style seal that's on here. The only thing to keep in mind is there's really no seal down between here. I haven't really had an issue with it, but you can always run a piece of weather stripping down there if you really wanted to separate this compartment from this one. So that's going to be about it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Please consider subscribing. Let me know what you think down below. And if you're interested in picking one of these up, or the solar panel or battery bank, there'll be links down below in the description. Thanks for watching.